is it like, it's not, I'm not saying that it's a religious exercise, but it's a spiritual thing, almost like I think the purpose that sports plays in so many people's lives, like just following sports, is that the stories from there sort of resonate with you and your personal existence.
Dude, it's great. No, it's the excelling in sport basically requires all the great qualities that you require to succeed in life. I mean, it checks all the correct boxes. And that's why we say sport works so well whenever you want to do any brand placement or any brand wants to tie up with any sport, because all the qualities of brand resonate with all the great qualities of sport. It's discipline, perseverance, battling the odds, just all those things. So I think that it's quite, you watch these things and you don't realize that when you're watching somebody score those runs and when you're watching somebody take those catches or take those wickets, you have just no idea. You have some idea of what their journey has been, but you genuinely have no idea what their journey has been. And I think even with all of us, and even though we end up spending time around and watching all those things, I don't think we still will understand what they have to go through. Because here's the thing. I mean, the reason why I started this show is because I realized after spending some time with people off camera and off field, is that all of them have immensely high EQs, right? Their emotional quotient is very high. So they may not have a lot of bookish knowledge, leave aside perhaps a Rahul Dravid, one or two who will read a lot of books, but otherwise they don't have a lot of bookish knowledge. What they do have is that from the age of 6 or 7, they have left their houses, traveled hanging off buses and in the backs of trucks with kid bags 3 times their size in the heat. And they have gone from there, traveling ticketless in trains perhaps and sleeping in front of the bathroom to play cricket matches, to now this 5-star, 7-star, first-class lifestyle. So because they've seen that entire spectrum through the sheer grit of their hard work, they have very high emotional quotients and they are very good observers of life because of that, as because you go through the spectrum of emotions over 15, 20, 25 years. So that just gives them a very interesting lens, not just on their own story, but on a lot of things around. And it just learns you learn how to prioritize things, what has to be given the correct amount of perspective, when you're making things way too important than they should be, what should be given more importance. I think I've learned that a lot from spending time with some of, the people who are my friends now who happen to play cricket for India.
Sorabh, you mentioned about the Anil Kumble jaw injury, okay? And I've had the opportunity to ask him that, and he said that, we didn't even know that it was a jaw break because the doctor in Antigua said that it's a normal thing and you should play and stuff like that. When he later on realized, and when he came back to India and all of that this was a serious injury. Anyway, one talk these days I do with corporates a lot is called Life Lessons Out of Sport. And I spend a lot of time during the lockdown reading Freud and reading how the mind works. And I'm trying to now correlate how sporting minds work. I'll give you a small example as to why I believe Sachin Tendulkar is an absolute case study when it comes to strength of mind. The guy, when I chatted with him last, I actually told him you should write a book on injuries. He probably has had every part injured. He's a biology lesson for India. These are the 50 injuries that he has declared to the audiences is probably 1/3 of the injuries that he had. He did not have a body like Kohli. His body suffered from the age of 24. And he said something very interesting about the mind, which I'll share. And I asked him that, how were you able to push your mind after suffering so much during a particular inning? And he said the standard theory of the second wind, right? The second wind is what makes greater players. Boys to men differentiations, people who can tap the second wind of energy from their body. It's that famous statement by Muhammad Ali. When he was asked, how many sit-ups do you do? He said, I start counting after I'm tired. So the thing that Tendulkar was saying that, once you're playing in Colombo or Chennai, when you get tired at the age of 50 and at the 50, 60 run mark, and your body is kind of, giving up and stuff like that. He talks about a bridge that takes you from the point where the body is tired to the body will get recharged again. That bridge, he says, is what the mind has to conquer. And he says, for that 20 runs, I used to start counting each run when I was playing so that I can push my body to 65-80. And he says that every man operates at 40 to 45% of his potential, even if he's Usain Bolt. So if you can cross that bridge, you will find a second wind of energy from your body. And from 80 to 110, he says it's a steal. So when he told me the story, I realized, and I figured out that how great sportsmen actually are able to tap their resources of the body, which average sportsmen are not. And that's why they finish their careers after 8 to 10 years. And the longevity happens of 24 years only because the mind succeeds in pushing the body. So when you hear stories like this, you kind of understand why champions think the way they do. And just like a physical story, getting the mind to become stronger, to become a bowl the way Anil Kumble did, there are lots of examples which all these guys will agree also, that you learn and you try to imbibe even from a managerial point of view and tell these stories to corporates. So yes, you are right. It's a life lesson taken every time you interact with a legend in the world of cricket or any sport.
Dude, Anil Kumble, the doctor that came running onto the field in Antigua, he said that guy had like the Hawaiian shirt, 3 buttons open.
Yes,
it seemed like he had like, he had just had his 3 rums for the morning. And he says, he came and said, yeah, you're fine. He says, then later when he went for whatever his test and his X-ray or MRI or something, he says at that time, the doctor was a Bangalore-based doctor who was in Antigua that time.
Yes.
So that is when I first realized that actually anywhere in the world, whatever you need to do, you have to outsource it to Bangalore.
Yeah.